Camera's falling over. Hold on a minute. All right, just hold on a second here, guys. Excuse me. This camera sucks sometimes in a way. And that nice shot of the back of the laptop, right? Hold on. A little better? Nice shot of the laptop. Why is this happening? So hold on a minute. Give me a minute, you guys. I'll get this shit straightened out. Let's just go like that. Gee, that wasn't too hard, was it? All right. Microphone. Bit of a shit show this morning, in a way. I had to set everything up, get the satellite dish back out of my truck, get it in position. The laptop wouldn't pick it up. And then I realized I had an internet cable in here that I ran from the house, plugged. It's just a shit show. Hold on a minute. Can you guys hear me? Somebody say, yeah, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me? Yes? Good. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Kenneth. I'm in. All right. Here we go. I got my cold coffee that tastes like dog shit this morning because I made it. But it's going to work. Get the caffeine in me. Excuse me. What, the past few days. So, I guess, what do? Wait for people to load up on here? I can't read the comments yet, so we'll hang out here for a minute. I'll recap my past few days so you understand exactly how insane I really am. So what did I do? Last time I saw everybody here, I was remote in the mountains. Well, I don't really call them mountains here on Vancouver Island. Once you've been running around the Rockies forever and then you come back to the island, it's like they're hills. So I'm going to call them hills. And that worked out pretty good. Then what did I do? I had to race to the boat, get the boat ready. Up for 4:30 I woke up. Made some new great friends from here, from Texas. Mike and his daughter Sadie. We had a great time. And we didn't go live. If we did go live, probably would have got booted off of YouTube for all the topics we were talking about. So we didn't go live fishing. Fishing was real slow, but we got fish. Saturday night, I get back to the dock where my friend owns the dock, and he's a full-time guide there. And his clients were 4 retired police officers that were police officers all over big cities in Canada. And of course, they follow my stuff. So what do? They got me over, sit down, have a quick beer with them. And the stories were so insane. If I could have put a live camera on that, well, it would have been pretty X-rated too, though. But the stories were insane. You ever want to just sit there glued listening to somebody speak to some retired police officers from a big city? Holy cow. So, had a few beers, which I don't normally do. And if I have a few beers, I don't know why, I wake up in the middle of the freaking night. So, Sunday morning, I wake up at 3:30 in the morning. And I can't fall asleep again. Whatever. Start going fishing. Next thing you know, I'm getting texts from other friends of mine who are offshore guiding saying your horses are loose. And I get Sarah texting me from the other side of Canada. She's in New Brunswick, texting me, you got to go home right now. The horses are all over Facebook. People are posting them and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. If you ever want to feel useless, picture this. Let's just say you're in another country, okay? And your infants are at home alone. And somebody keeps texting you, telling you they're playing on the yellow line of the highway. It's torture. There's nothing you can do about it. I'm offshore in the Pacific Ocean. So I'm a run in to shore. I'd have to secure everything, get Mike and his daughters dealt with all their fish and all their stuff, pack up the truck. And I was supposed to be back yesterday and then bolt on that logging road, which normally takes about 2.5 hours of detours and stuff. I made it home in 1 hour and 27 minutes. Thank God I didn't pass any cops. And my neighbors thankfully had helped out. Poor Maya, who was here by herself and didn't know how to deal. My gelding decided to kick down a chunk of the fence, which he has respected all this time. And then once he figured out he could do it, he did it a few times, and they kept on going on tour in the neighborhood. And of course, small town, big drama, right? Small town, big news. Small town, small news, big drama. How's that sound? So you got 10 people texting and phoning and posting on Facebook and panicking. Oh my God, 2 black horses are running around. Anyways, the little bastards are secure. Now, back to business. So I did crack open my email this morning. And I didn't open up them all because I have a gazillion. So remember, I reached out to everybody to give me a hand with my setup for my live stream. And I have a pile of emails. Absolutely appreciate it. And I'm not going to open them yet because my package didn't deliver the other day when it was supposed to. And then I had 5 emails from, was it DHL, DHS, whoever it is, that delivery business. They sent me 5 emails all in French. I'm not a fan of French. So I had to copy it, paste it, find Google Translate or whatever the hell it was, and did it that way. And it said last warning or whatever to get some payment made at the border customs. So I made the payment. So that put off the delivery to here until September 1st, which means I'm going to miss the delivery of that camera to take it up north with me on this trip. Whatever. So, but I think my plan up there is to, well, I'm going to try to use my other iPhone anyways up there and live stream that way. So we'll get that camera figured out once I get back from this first trip. No big deal. So that's why I'm not going to crack open the emails from all you helpful people out there that offered up help with how I'm going to stream. Because if I open them now, I'm going to lose track of them by the time I get my hands on the camera, right? Yes, I'm a little challenged that way. So once I get that camera in my hands, then I'll crack open the helpful emails from all of you, and we'll get it lined out, and I'll make it work. What else? Yeah, so I had to race. That's the last trip on my boat was yesterday. And I had to literally race to get hopefully all the stuff I needed to go on this trip out of the boat in the truck and gone. Very unfortunate. But I made it. So I wasn't supposed to be back until this evening. And now I have to turn around and go pick up Sarah tomorrow and do it. Anyways, a babble. So that's the deal. And hell getting all this set up this morning. So I'm going live to save me some time. It's easier. Now, what else? I did watch a video last night. And if you guys would, how do I say this? I wonder how many of you out there are certain you can think for yourself today. I think the majority of people here can think for themselves, right? Now, if you can't think for yourself and you need somebody to tell you and direct you, well, my next suggestion won't mean anything to you. But if you can, even if the topic doesn't interest you much, if you could you listen to the talk that Tucker Carlson had in Hungary? Just do it, all right? Just do it. I feel it is very, very, very important for the majority of the population of the planet to listen to that talk. I think it's only 30 minutes or something, 27 minutes. But if you could think for yourself, if you're open to listening to other people speak, no matter what, if you can do that, which is, I think, a lost skill these days, please do it. All right? I feel it's very important. Now, putting on the annoying as F readers, I am going to get some very important people shared today. Now, where do I start? Because I did save a few emails this morning when I looked into it. So this is going to be the recent column, right? Because you guys know I'll read recent, and then I'll go back maybe another day or two, and then I'll read older emails, because we get, when I share people's voices on here, other people chime in that may be directly related to the emails from yesterday. It might be important. So I'm trying to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth to try, right? Is everybody's hearing me still, right? Yep, you're hearing me. Okay. All right. Now listen to this. This is titled, "You Wanted to Hear from a Kid." Here we go. Oh, interesting. I don't know if I recall throwing down and needed to hear from a kid, but I'm all over it. This isn't rehearsed, and I don't know what I'm going to be. I don't know what I'm going to read, as usual, right? Hi, Steve. My name is Tramper. It's my nickname. Most long-distance hikers have what we call a trail name. Tramper is mine. Right on. I live with my family in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. You mentioned that you wanted to hear from kids. Well, here we go. I've been hiking with my mother since I was 8. Today, I'm nearly 18. You're 18 and admit to being a kid still? You're kidding me. I thought most 18-year-olds thought they were 35. I'm just kidding, Tucker. Tramper, sorry. Tramper. Just kidding. All you parents out there can relate. I guess sorry, I lost it. I have never entered a school or a church, nor have I ever watched television. No way. This is going to be interesting. Programming is not a part of my life. We live in a tiny cabin in the thick forest away from the shit show we call society. Wow. We live simply, doing exactly what we want to do every day. Envious. I have been what we call unschooled, which is not which is not at all like homeschooling. I choose what I want to learn, and my parents facilitate that as best they can by using the greater community when it is needed. I love it. That sounds freaking amazing. That sounds to me so far like being absolutely in tune with yourself, right? We all know what we are naturally interested in right from the second we hit that deck from others, I believe. And I also believe that we are supposed to be pursuing what makes us feel good and happy, right? So maybe this just might be one of those people that did it from day one. This is going to be good. I hope. I'm sure. When I was younger, Mom always made me walk barefoot on my daily forest adventures. It was a natural thing. But she really wanted me to come home to eat dinner and tell her about my day wandering through the mountains. I know that no one has ever disappeared barefoot. I have a lot of experience and plenty of sightings to share with you all. My mom has the most experience and a lot to say and teach as well. My parents taught me everything they know and have never hid anything from me. They speak 2 languages. 1, F around and find out, and 2, sarcasm. They will always give it to you straight up. Beautiful. Oh, leg cramp. Oh, I got a leg cramp. Oh my God, that was a bad one. Hold on a minute. See, this would normally get edited out. Oh, that was a bad one. All right. It's all right. It's been a crazy couple days. I'll share my story with you that taught me the most about the Sabe. Okay, first off, for somebody who never went to school, didn't have any official teachers, you're very well spoken so far, and your writing and punctuation is bang on. Not bad for a barefoot feral kid running around the forest, right? I'll share my story with you that taught me the most about the Sabe. There are things here that I have not heard you speak of before. I might suck at this, but will try my best to have it make sense. I hate writing, so good luck. I will name the place so that others might come forward as well. My mom says I can only share one story. We would like to send you written words, like on paper through the mail. There are reasons for that. My mom will tell you if you want to send us your address. Weird, right? But I guarantee you we will not come knocking on your door. It's okay, man. I get it. Now, I bet you I'm curious right now, and I'm probably everybody else is probably curious as to how you're getting the access to the internet right now to do this, right? Excuse me. It was maybe 10 or 11. We were going to hike Moosilauke from the DOC cabin for a sunrise hike. Moosilauke. Moosilauke. We were running too late to make sunrise, and there were others in the parking lot already. We geared up as we said our intentions and our route out loud, as we always do. We walked up across the shoulder of the mountain where we planned on bushwhacking over to a slide to the summit. At the bend in the trail at the water source is where you begin the BW. You would follow that line until you found the slide, then push the final steep to the summit. I'm feeling a bit anxious as I write this right now. I was in the lead as we were approaching the slide. when I stopped dead in my tracks. Mom, lagging behind, did not see me stop and ran right into me, saying, "What the F?" I began humming. Om is what she taught me to do when I saw something. Then she would know. It is 528HZ and is the same frequency as our heartbeat. Her face became concerned. I saw the slide, yes, but sitting on the slide in our pathway was a huge black thing. And I mean huge. Its back was facing us. The hair was thicker going down the middle of the back. Not as pronounced as your horse, like a ponytail, but not, just thicker, longer hair down the spine. Okay, we've heard that description a lot of times too, right? Excuse me. He had not noticed us yet. He should have been able to feel us as we were less than 30 feet from him. Whoa. His head was down, and then he popped his head up as if to listen. He and Mom reacted at the same time. He stood up. Mom grabbed my pack and literally flung me behind her. We surprised him, and he let that known. Thought we might die, so I hummed louder, just from being nervous. The 528 hertz, I guess, is hertz, right? Hum blocks fear and projects love, and I was doing it loud enough for the both of us. OMFG. It was definitely male. He was twice as tall as my mom, and she's 5'5". And he was about as wide as a Hummer. Steve, his face was wet, like it may have been crying. His eyes were solid black. His face was long and was bearded, with long, beautiful hair, hippie-like. His skin was not as dark as his hair, like dark gray compared to his hair. His hair covered his ears. His teeth were like ours, only larger, like as wide as my thumb. It's a big jumper. Excuse me. Not a juvenile and not at all old. I saw no large crown or a bump to the top of his head. His arms were very long. His hands were like mine, only 5 times larger. His fingernails were black. His legs were as large around as a 50-gallon drum. You know, some of these descriptions are just so much to wrap your noodle around, right? But when you hear this thousands of times from around the planet, what do? You're going to have to accept it. Today, I can say he was quite beautiful looking. That's not the first time we've heard that either. And this is when my mom began fast, nervous talking. She was talking to him. This all happened very fast, but I feel as if it were all in slow motion. I think adrenaline does that to us. It usually happens when I've had my grizzly close encounters with death with grizzly bears. Mom told him that we stated our intention as we began our hike, but he was not paying attention. Like she was scolding him. He was getting annoyed for sure. And this is when Mom told him to leave. She was then reaching behind her into the slide of her pack while never taking her eyes off of him. And she was telling him that she would glock him in the knee if he did not walk away, and that she could do so 4 times. Steve, the dude could have reached out and slapped her if he wanted to. He must have been like, who is this woman? Yeah, that's what I'm like right now. Yep, my mom is not a mama bear. She is a solid grizzly. This is when his posture changed. Mom said, do not step forward. His shoulders went back, his chest came forward, and his face began to change. I don't know how to write this. His jaws unlocked somehow, and his mouth and neck stuck out. He was going to blast us with a scream. Mom placed one hand forward, palm up, and the other up into the air. She did not pull the Glock, so had both hands free. Then she yelled no so loud that she scared me. His face went back to normal, and she scolded him again, telling him that he was not supposed to hurt us. And being that close to him would have definitely injured our internal organs. How crazy is this sounding? We've heard screams from far off, and they rattled our entire beings before. So this would have been all bad. It's like this thing was listening to her words the entire time and understood them. At this point, Mom grabbed my arm. She knew I was getting ready to bolt. She was shaking really, really bad. She told me not to move. When we looked back, which was only a few seconds, he was gone. We did not see him. We looked at one another mystified. She asked me if I heard him walk away. He should have made noise leaving as the forest was thick. My mom told me to sit down. We're going to need some water and rest for a minute. She told me to sit where I was, and she did the same. We did not move forward or backward. We drank some water. Both of us were shaking. And this is when Mom told me that he was still there. He had not moved. We could not see him, but she could feel him. She told me that when they disappear like that, it does not always mean they have gone away. They know how to use a different frequency wave that we humans are not attuned to any longer. She explained that we live in two realities, one external, system, and one internal, spirit. They know how to live along spirit therefore they can use their superpowers. Most humans have no idea how to live in their internal reality and are programmed from birth to be external. I said, "You pack a gun?" And she said, "Yes, it's to protect us from other humans, the ones that live externally and have become hostile from living a life that confuses them." I said I had no idea. I think I was impressed she had a Glock. She told me I only needed to know about 98% of the things she does while grinning. At that point, she told me to go up and feel the rocks where he was standing. I was reluctant, but trusted her, so I did it. He was gone, but the rocks where he stood were warm. He was there listening to us. I asked her what we were going to do now. She grinned and told me that we were going to do what we stated in our initial intention. We summited the mountain 30 minutes later and then descended faster than any human should have. We ran down the mountain. When we got to the car, we heard two loud whoops. Whoop, whoop. Scared? Yes, shitless. My mom said, "Did you even hear him telling you in your head to leave?" And I said, "No, you did not give him a chance with your words." So in her mind, we were good to carry on and with our intended hike. Mom's first sighting was when she was 6, and that was 50 years ago. She could write a book, but says nothing. Too many bad things happen, so she remains silent. It's easy to say it is safe to share. That is not always the case. Mom is half Cherokee and a shaman. She knows things and has a lot to share. I hope people get to hear her one day, however that may happen. She grew up in a hot spot in North Minnesota. This got anybody's curiosity going yet? I can't go away without saying this. Look up. There are two things that scare people. One is the forest and the other is the sky. People think they look at the sky. But do they really? No, they just notice it. There are dragons that fly around, surrounded in clouds. Saw one the weekday P put out a vibe about climbers here in New Hampshire having their ropes cut. We live in a hotspot for disappearances. It flew over our car. I screamed dragon, and I saw the belly with scales and legs and huge talons. The rest was covered in a fog or a cloud or something. He was flying very low and went into the dam/reservoir in Warren. We've had legit hundreds of experiences hiking in the whites, but never seen a dragon before. Steve, when we say Adirondacks, we just say Dax. Do that. Later, Tramper. Okay, Tramper and everybody, here we go. So the dragon thing, that throws you for a little bit of a loop at the very end of this. Throws me for a loop anyways, because I've never heard that mentioned ever before, ever, right? But who knows? I wasn't there. Did they see something in the sky and misinterpret it? I don't know. Maybe. All of us could probably do that too, right? But so what I will do is I will Hopefully when I remember to go back in, I'll crack open the email and I'll send them my mail address and see what they want to share with me on paper. Sounds pretty interesting, right? But a lot of what they say does mesh up with what a lot of people have been sharing with all of us through me, and a lot of people have as well shared with me, at the same time cautioning me to share it publicly. So there you go, shared. Do I know who this person is? Nope. Pretty well spoken, well delivered, right? For a homeschooled feral kid, 18 years old, and running around the woods barefoot and using the internet. So what's my, see, now you guys are getting me live real time, right? After I read an email, because normally I'd cut out all this crap of me thinking before I deliver the video to you guys. So what do we think about that? I think it's pretty freaking interesting. I think that woman is definitely probably 3/4 grizzly bear. By the sounds of it, I mean, how many people could keep their shit together with that confidence? I think the only woman of that age that could keep her confidence with a sighting experience like that would probably be one who was very informed of what's going on out there and has a lot of past experience. Then it would make sense. So what the person who wrote in shared with us is she does have that experience. So that would make sense, right? The being transparent. Tough to wrap your being around that too, right? But how many different eyewitnesses sharing that fact, sharing that moment that they experienced, how many thousands do we need to hear from around the globe before you can't keep shrugging it off or thinking they're crazy, right? So for me, take from what you will or not, think for yourself, go with your gut. For me, I do accept that these beings can become transparent. I have to. For me, I think I would be an absolute idiot if I ignored the thousands of people who have witnessed something like this, even if it comes down to seeing half one of these beings peeking out from a tree that big, and meanwhile, that half of that being is about 2.5 feet wide. But they disappeared in the night vision when we went back behind the tree. And that actually one I'm referring to, that happened in BC a few times, right? And around the planet. So there you go, shared. And will I send them my mailing address? Of course I will. Of course I will. Now, who's next? You know, on that little spiel I just gave, it's funny. I watched it. You know, stuff comes up in your feed when you go into YouTube or wherever, go on your phone. And all of a sudden, a bunch of videos will be suggested for you to watch because they might be similar to what your channel may be or what you search on the internet or what. But I guarantee you, I never type in Bigfoot or Sasquatch on the internet. I don't look anywhere for this topic. I only look for it through all of you. And then I share it here. That's all I need. That's all I need. And what I've proven to myself in the past is when I do accidentally fall in that hole, meaning looking at other channels with this channel, 99.9% of the time, I just end up going, oh God, why did I do that? So I don't do it. But I did it again the other day. And there's a new documentary, apparently. I think that's probably what knee-jerked me to click open the new documentary. And it's well edited, very well edited. Obviously, whoever produced it has made documentaries in the past, or they successfully mimicked the editing of other good documentaries. So I started watching it, and I started skidding fast forward through it. And there's one person on there, very well spoken and delivered to the camera. He was very experienced with this topic and said flat out, you know, I didn't go looking for these beings. They found me and have accepted they're out there and what we're looking at. And what he dictated to the camera, this is what gets me with other channels or other individuals. He dictated to the audience that what we're dealing with is an upright being that just hasn't been acknowledged by modern day science so far. And it's not crazy. This is word for word. And then he goes, what is crazy is that they can disappear and they're more human. Like, that's crazy. And then for me, I'm like, oh, why did I watch this? Delete. And I scold myself for losing about 4 minutes of my lifetime, which is very precious to me. And I'm not demeaning anybody, but you got to admit by now. Let's just say you can think for yourself. You can read. You might have a handful of years of experience on this planet. All right, let's just pretend. And then this topic comes up and gets thrown in your face. And then you feel compelled to look into it. and then you get interested in the topic. How long do you think it would take you to figure out that these are not an upright, hairy monkey or gorilla running around the forest that we just haven't acknowledged publicly and scientifically yet for the species list? How long do you think it would take you to figure that out if you could think for yourself and your mind would not block aspects of this topic that we've been raised to believe are impossible? How long do you think it would take you? For me, I think it would probably take me about a month, maybe even a little less of intense looking at the subject. I don't understand how a human brain today can have an interest in this topic and look into it and then claim to be whatever. I don't even like using the word researcher because I don't want that to be a bad word, and then you're going to research the topic. You're going to accept that this is factual, but your brain at the same time, your brain allows you to accept this as true, just the fact that shit's going on in the woods. But then part of your brain goes absolute slam the door shut. Even if there's 10,000 people around the world sharing with you, their eyes are glowing in the middle of the night, they're sending telepathy to me, and these things disappeared, and the tracks disappeared in the snow. How does a brain go, nope, that's crazy, moving along. We're going to get hair traps, we're going to get the DNA, we got trail cameras, but we know how to set trail cameras. All right, I'm going to stop. We've already made this point. I'm catching myself in mid-babble. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Anyways, I'm looking forward to hearing from these people again, aren't you? The dragon thing at the very end kind of makes you go, huh? What? What'd you just say? Right? I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know what they saw in the sky. I haven't a clue. All right, who's next? What do we got here? Hello, Steve. I've written before. The Calico around Athabasca area from 16 years back. A lot of time has passed since that experience, and I have never seeked them. I think it's supposed to be sought them. It was the opposite. Kept an interest and scared, and that was it. I used to tell myself it was a one-time experience. I've also stopped calling them Sasquatch and joined the Sabe name. I hope this reaches the Owlman and the science guys. Sabe, menopause, and eagles. Forgive me, a long and bloody embarrassing, but here I go. All right. I've been hobbying for about 6 years or so now, gold panning, metal detecting. My go-to and easy access is the NSR, North Saskatchewan River. Been there. Crown land camping is popular in Alberta. There are plenty of areas along the NSR where you can drive up to river, park and camp for a while. You can offer spots where you're in sight to vehicles and campsites. Ride ATVs, fish, hunt, horseback ride, etc., etc. And for those that don't know this river, Google it. It's mighty long. It's a big-ass river for sure. It's mid-May 23, not too far from Drayton Valley. Been there too. I know where you're talking. Attached one photo of the spot, just a photo of the river itself. The NSR is now free of ice and snow. Water is very cold still. I'm only doing a day visit, as issues with menopause that particular week. Bleeping thing. I had my friend drive my truck, as I like to read the geology while exploring, noting where the ice build up, new and old water accumulation, rock changes, formations, etc., etc. Basically, to find a nice spot to run the sluice. We did find a nice spot to run the sluice. And for anybody who doesn't know what that is, that's that sluice where they put all the gravel in, rinse it with water, and then the gold falls to the bottom, all right? I had to take a pee while driving, and it was sudden. Eye roll. Already sensed something in the air, so I felt I needed to stay at the truck. I make Sarah stay at the truck every time, period, no matter what. Driver's side showcases a side river of the NSR with large accumulation of boulders. My friend went to the boulders, mix of sandstone, field spar, and granite. Both of us experienced this at the same time. I'm going to explain as best I can. This all transpires in less than 4 minutes. My side first, then my friends. We stopped on the logging/rig road, did my business on the road, quad cab, open passenger, went to the backside door to grab wipes, left both doors open, squatted between the two doors, offers some bit of privacy if anyone came. Sarah does the same thing. It's a good move. While peeing, fear increased. Shit, I'm vulnerable. Bleeping bear. I look straight ahead in front into the trees. Dead silence. I can only hear myself and my friend moving. It's no bear. Scared shitless. In my head, I said meekly, quote, here to explore for golden rocks, not damage the area and enjoy the views, end quote. Token helicopter flying over the house. Will I ever escape frickin' helicopters when I'm got the camera going? I should almost paint a sign on the roof of the house. F you, fly somewhere else, right? I don't know if you can hear that or not. I hate background sound. Sorry. I was encouraged to send a photo, so a few photos. One of the sluice box, water pump, metal detector, and gold pens to him telepathic. Okay, so you meant you're sending the photos telepathically in your mind to this parent being scaring the shit out of you. Here I'm justifying why we are here and not like those guys. As a gravel pit / 2 pump jacks immediate area, along this stretch, 20 plus jacks and pumps, too many poorly maintained, and one or both dumped chemicals into the side river. It's pretty nasty. All right, so this is all oil field equipment. Never had visited an area maintained like this by either parties in other areas. I continued to say, quote, taking my garbage after I'm done as I brought a bag to place wipes and such. He acknowledged, wow, asked me, am you okay? He said, M. He sent a photo of blood to me. All right, so we're talking about a telepathic communication here, right? Yes, was my reply, explaining, I'm going through menopause. A woman goes through later in life. And he understood. He then said to me, our females know this bleeding. This is getting freaking crazy. This bleeding is what brought him forward, not for food, it's curiosity. He then asked again, am okay, as referring to my male friend, and I said yes. I was scared to be alone in the forest at times. You know what I meant, a lone female, rough people, predators. He asked, am kids? I told him neither. We're interested in coming today. 2 teenagers, 1 adult who doesn't live with us, hence neither. My friend, he was admiring his view, standing on a boulder, made a comment on chemicals dumped in the river. That's freaking brutal, man. It makes me want to vomit hearing that shit. Made a comment on chemicals dumped in the river. Quickly, his mood changed to, we need to get out of here now. I'm not comfortable. Something is in the trees. Are you done? I'm coming to you. Multiple things he said. As he couldn't focus on him, I was busy talking and peering. The dog's right here. She just came in. Sorry, I lost my spot. I'm so challenged doing this live, right? I said to him, not done. Wait, damn it. He hops in the driver's seat. Must have turned towards me and spoke. It's the trees. I continue talking to the Sabe. He tells me doesn't like my friend. I too understand as my friend is a bit hyper and impatient at times. Giggled about this later, lol. In my head, thinking he knows my children, he acknowledged my fear in that, calmed me about it. He noticed I also changed truck. Bought some color, just more mean looking. Kids getting a little challenged to read this, all right? The conversation ends abruptly as my friend is extremely agitated and flipping out. We need to leave now. And a few other words I don't recall as now, he being so bloody agitated. The Sabe must have been moving away. The voice sounded distant, and I heard him say, I'm safe to him, as in him, the Sabe, not my friend. I too safe with them, meaning safe with Sabe. We did remain in the area. We backtracked to a spot I liked. We were setting up and doing our thing. Both of us rattled a bit. Didn't take long to settle, as other people are in the area camping, fishing. The odd ATVs appearing. Nice spot. Broke for some lunch and talked about this experience. I didn't share anything to my friend about this telepathic talk, because if he was meant to know, he would have had a different experience. Now it's August. Last weekend with same friend, I brought up what happened in May. I told him all that was said. The look on his face said it all. He did not experience anything like it. His experience was fear. We've gone out many times before that day, when we both sensed many times we had to leave or couldn't stay. After the experience in May, I didn't invite him much, or when he wanted to go, I used my menopause as an excuse. He is really too impatient. Yeah, I got a tough time hanging with people with no patience. It doesn't work with me. Everything has changed. I've attached 2 photos, which is Devon spot. When menopause active, I really can't travel, so head to Devon, a popular panning/sluicing spot around Prospectors Point on the NSR. It's busy, a lot of people, boats, walking trails, campsite on the other side, homes, and a golf course. A lot of people around. It's only a 20-minute drive from my home. There is a spot I frequent along there. An eagle lives across the other side. Often comes and stays with me and watches me pan. I get that feeling again. Everything's quiet. I know someone is there. Told to look up in the trees across the river, and ta-da, Mr. Sabe is there. Hellos are exchanged. He does not stay there. It's just a quick check-in, I guess, most of the time. Eagle doesn't leave. He stays till a person comes by, then takes off. Any idea why? Eagles don't seem affected like other animals or insects when these beings are around. Hopefully shed some more light, and maybe even some answers to the bigger puzzle. Note, my mother also passed away September 2022. I'm not sure if that sparked something in me. I've been doing my hobbies these 6 years prior. Encountered many moments. Knew when to leave, felt something, but never heard a conversation till 2023 or visits. No, my mom didn't have communication with them, but fully believed in them. Yours truly, Shannon. And there we go. There's a picture of the river. But I'm sure you can probably Google that up anytime too, right? Interesting. Be a hell of a thing to wake up in the morning. The first thing I always think of when I read emails, I'll read them and then I will just picture it. It's like you try to picture somebody intentionally waking up in the morning, finding this channel, finding my email, and then going out of the way to sit down and start typing, and then type something like this. If I was to be typing an experience I didn't have and I was absolutely making up because my mind was a little challenged and thought that this is going to get me some kind of attention that I think I needed online, I think I could probably come up with a better story. Don't you? You know what I mean? Like we have had a couple stories in the past where, for me, 110% was made up, written out, and used just to dupe or entertain the person to hear the story read. And one that I will use an example that comes to mind is a guy from Florida who claimed to be an ex-police officer in BC, RCMP, shared his name. You Google the guy's name. Sure enough, there's a couple of police incidents came up with it. And he wrote this story to me saying, hey, man, you're the first person I share this with. And they give an account of up the Coquihalla Highway somewhere, a troop of Sasquatches had a whole bunch of humans in a line like they were taking them hostage. It was a classic scene out of a Western, right? Or whatever. Where the enemy had a bunch of your people in a line, like the Planet of the Apes or something, taking all the humans through a meadow, broad daylight, numerous. And then he snuck away and went and got back. And they came back, and when they came back, one of them was beating a white person, raping another, and then they used a 50 cal and they dumped them. They saved the people. All right, could have been a crazy story, but the sad part, the part that made me go, what? Was I was alerted to that story months before, and he shared it to another channel and said to those people in that channel, "You're the first time I've ever shared this." Right? And then months later, he did the same thing to me. And it's like, wow, that was a pretty good written story. Then I shared that with David Pilatus right off the bat. I copied and pasted it, texted him. I go, check this shit out. And then his immediate reaction was eye roll. But Dave is very adamant about the fact that he said of all of his research and looking into this topic, he never heard of a human being being abducted or a researcher being abducted or harmed in any way while looking for these beings or studying them, trying to study them or trying to find them or whatever. But he always does say dangers coming from up there. He's very adamant about dangers coming from up there. And if you watch what he is looking at and interested in mostly, it's not the Sasquatch, Sabe, Bigfoot topic so much, right? He's interested in what the hell's going on up there. So if you are a professional, ex-professional investigator, whatever have you, and you do your due diligence and you're an investigative dog, and I know you are, and I'm watching you and watching your actions, watching what you're really looking at, talking about. Not that I have any time to listen to his channel. I don't have time to listen to people's channels. But if you have more knowledge than I do on this topic, and you've got to the point where you've obtained DNA samples from these people, and then all of a sudden you move along and now you're focused up there, that's telling me something. That tells me something. It's like, all right, here's somebody with more knowledge than me, and their focus has left this topic somewhat, and they're really looking up there. Maybe I should be looking up too, right? And I always take advice, look to people who have mastered the topics I'm looking into, or I feel to have, for direction and to justify my time being spent looking at what they're looking at. I don't know if I'm making my brains mesh enough with my lips or not, but time is precious, right? Time is precious. Rest in peace, Scott Carpenter. He showed us an example. You don't know when your time right here is up, right? So you have to use it wisely. And I hate wasting time. So I tend to look to and listen to people I feel I can trust. They've mastered the topics I'm looking into. And I think my number one source is all of you. That's my number one source, is the people. When it comes to much, hopefully everything. That's where you learn. That's where you discover all these people that you would normally never discover, right? Like the young person who emailed us in, they're 18, homeschooled, and their mom knows a lot. All right. I want to hear from you, right? Or you find somebody who likes, subscribes, and shares, and ding the bell and all that other her shit, and wants to get in front of cameras. There's nothing from those people that'll benefit me in any way. Nothing. It all comes from the people, all right? Okay, babbling. Here, let's have a little sip of this cold, disgusting coffee. A little more caffeine, right? Whatever. Excuse me. Mind speak, telepathy, the conversations is not a brand new thing. And it's one hell of a ridiculous thing to come up with in your mind if you might be a little bit of psycho and you want to come up with something for some attention. Don't you think? I wouldn't even know. We'd have to hire somebody, a researcher, or whatever you call them, to go into my inbox and find exactly how many people around the globe have reported into us, the people, that they've experienced some kind of weird communication through their mind. When in the mountains, in the forest, and even at home sometimes. We live in rural, whatever. Right? How many do you think in my inbox alone? It's got to be in the thousands by now, right? Thousands. Nope, it doesn't happen. Imagine having all those eyewitnesses sharing with us firsthand what they're experiencing, and then actually thinking that you, an individual, or me, I'm in the position that I can say, no, that didn't happen. You didn't experience that. Moving along. Said no rational thinking human being ever, right? Somebody does that. I, in the past, previously have referred to them as a bit of a douchebag. All right. Watch my mouth. Here we go. Trying to. This is titled Access Camera Hookup and More. All right, I think I skimmed. This is the first one that I opened up on the camera hookup, and then I decided I better not look up anymore because I'll forget all of the knowledge that people sharing until I get my hands on the camera. But when I looked at this morning and glanced down, there's a lot more to this than just the camera, I think. Oh, maybe not. Hold on a minute. Oh, no, that was just the first one, and I saved it in my notes to make sure I wouldn't lose it. Sorry. You see, I would have chopped this out of the video I delivered to you guys today if I pre-recorded. So you're getting all the shit I go through this morning, right? I hope everybody's getting along in the comments section. I think we're all a bunch of big people here. We don't really need moderators or whatever, do we? I'm sure I can look past shit. So can everybody else. We're not a bunch of little children in a classroom needing somebody to supervise, do we? Excuse me. Steve, you need a couple trusted admins. Why? I wonder why. Maybe we do, maybe we don't, but I just can't see if everybody's not fragile and some idiot gets in here. I'm sure you can just ignore them, right? It's just text on a screen. It's not really it's physically painful or anything. And they can't stop me from talking. They can't affect me in any way. So I don't understand how somebody could affect somebody on here as well. That's just me, though. It's just me. I think everybody has their... Yeah, I'm going to stop babbling. My disgusting coffee's working. Your podcast with Nino Rodriguez. Well, Rodriguez. Why do we have a bad time pronouncing some words? It blows me away. Okay, let's get into this. Excuse me. Hey, Steve. I saw your video with Nino from a few weeks back. I'm one of those people you mentioned that gets tagged when I hike. Ooh. I'm in South Central Pennsylvania, USA. Pennsylvania is like number 3 with the most reported sightings in the U.S. Plenty of state forests around us. Lots of creeks and rivers, too. Hell, there was an incredible encounter by 2 unrelated witnesses in 2020. Just 3 miles up the road from my home. An 8 to 9 foot being was crouched over a creek, as they often are, and he stood up, turned, and saw the 2 witnesses watching him, sneered at them, and then jetted on all fours that the witnesses reported as faster than any creature can move that they've ever seen. Riverbed, again, my grandfather and thousands of others. There's a weakness with these beings, their sixth sense, and a river or creek bed. What's up with that one? I'm very aware of that, especially because I follow creek beds in the middle of nowhere all the time. And I get a little bit anxious when I do because I know my chances of a face-to-face probably go up about 50%. I've seen a cinnamon-colored one twice, but only from behind. I've had a large male whose tracks I routinely find are 19 inches by 17-inch foot. Come ripping through the heavy brush just off the trail that no human could navigate at that speed, at the speed he has, and stop directly next to me, maybe 15 feet away, but in such dense brush that I can't see him. He'll stomp for 6 or 7 big steps, and I'm suddenly very aware of his presence. Then he hauls up and stops and lets out a loud grunt. Yeah, that's one way they tag me. I'm only waiting for my class 1 encounter next, a face-to-face. Now, here's the interesting part. It's always on the same trail that I hike in the same state forest. I don't need to go anywhere else. They are there. I know it, and they know that I know it. They know me now, and I've gotten a feeling that a communication encounter is coming soon. I think maybe if you open yourself up to it, right? I mean, if you look at, I don't know if I should be interrupting these emails or not. Is that annoying, or should I just read all the way to the bottom? But I find when I read all the way to the bottom, I'll forget about what I wanted to comment on a few paragraphs back. But if you guys have seen in my videos where I go, how often I go remotely, and what I say when I go in the woods, I haven't had anybody communicate with me yet. They definitely let me know they're there a handful of times, but not as many as a lot of people. They're right in. And I wonder if that's because I always say nonstop, just leave me alone. I'm not into you. Leave me alone. Right? So what I'm saying is to him thinking it's coming soon, I think it's only if you leave the door open and invite it. I think. Maybe. You mentioned that you were thinking of joining a group in Texas who communicate regularly, and they invited you to join them. I've been in touch with a guy in North Georgia who has a similar group, led by a woman who is most certainly a spiritual medium of some sort. She knows when and where this big male will be and takes a small group of her closest confidants to speak with him. According to this guy, that includes him and his wife, who is another spiritually attuned woman. I've been a number of such souls over the years who are visited by them, and it's mostly women, and frequently with First Nations bloodlines. My wife is equally qualified as she's 1/8 Iowa Indian bloodline, intuitive as hell, but she's terrified at the prospect of an encounter, so she won't join me. I only know what this man has told me and evidence that he's shared, so whatever. But he has published a book on this experience. Sorry, I just got a text above my thing and it took my attention off. I only know what this man has told me and evidence that he's shared, so whatever, but he has published a book on his experiences and shared photos of himself with Bob Gimlin. Yep, that Bob Gimlin. And he counts Ron Moorhead, Sierra Sound's fame, as a personal friend. So I've come to believe he's legit. Anyway, here's the thing. What he's told me is that this male that they meet is a, quote, teacher, end quote, and is using these communication encounters to convey the dire need for the human race to get their shit right, and pronto. Apparently, they are seeking out, quote, special, end quote, humans to act as messengers. We're in a special time these days. Hell, most people can feel that, whether they're just intuitive, religious, spiritual, or whatever. Hell, common sense tells us that. But as you mentioned in your podcast with Nino, these creatures have a spiritual dimension to them that makes them unique from just about any other living creature on the planet. Ron Moorhead talks of them as having command over the quantum realm, which no doubt would endow them with incredible time and space manipulation abilities. Ron's book I just read last week. By the way, you left out an important detail when you related Edgar's story to Nino, namely that before the big fella turned and made eye contact with him, Edgar observed that when he was jumping up, the upper half of his body became transparent, right? Call it cloaking or whatever, but my opinion of that whole story was that the big guy was super pissed that Edgar saw him fail at complete cloaking attempts. That and the fact that he wasn't aware of Edgar's presence on that rock sooner tells me he may have been one of the lesser talented members of the species, or maybe still young and dumb. Who knows? But he clearly demonstrated Edgar that he does have the ability to manipulate space and time in our three-dimensional world. Didn't hurt him per se, but certainly effed him up good. Yeah, I think he may have acquired his leukemia from that, is what he shared. I hope this is still working. Anybody there? The thing's still working? I don't see the chat ripping up in the corner of my eye. It says it's still streaming. Okay, good. Gotcha. Yeah, so on that note about him not bringing harm to Edgar is basically 100% confident right now that he received his leukemia from that moment and not from work. He said they are far too careful and diligent with radiation in their field. So, but I don't think that being would have done that to him intentionally. Let's face it, if any of these beings want to intentionally F you up, you're probably going to look like a dog that get ran over by a semi on the highway. I'd imagine. And I agree with another supposition you made. They want us to regain our true spiritual nature and abilities that we once had but have lost. Not everyone, mind you. This is a spiritual war going on. And while there are many good humans, we all know there are real evil ones too. Most of them are the smart as a pickle leaders of the world. Klaus Eppen Schwab of the WF, Bill Gates, and many elected Congress members too. We need to even defend that notion. It's obvious on the face of it. So, interesting times ahead. But my message to you, as you are a self-acknowledged, quote, messenger, end quote, is to go. Go to Texas, see what you find out. I'm heading up to my trail early tomorrow morning because I've never encountered any other hikers early Sunday mornings, just our forest friends. Best regards, David Dreyer. Okay, David, appreciate you. Yeah, I'm going. I'm going to go. I'm going to go. But not for a little bit. I've got a whole pile of stuff I got to do first, including going up north and offering my ass up to the real world and grizzly bears and whatever's going to be living there first. And hopefully, if I don't become bear poop, then I'll come back, carry on, and go to Texas. Now, what's this one? It's titled Pick, but there's no pick. All right. Good day, Steve. Wait a minute. I appreciate you sending that in too, man. Appreciate you big time to the person who just wrote that email in. Sometimes I just get carried away trying to read these emails and I don't even acknowledge the email I just read. And it's not my intention. It's just all of a sudden my brain will see the next email and go to dive into it. Good day, Steve. Okay, so a recent story you read. Dude goes to get partner's sunglasses and saw one fresh footprint in the riverbed. Okay, that was a man and he left his female partner. Kind of reminded me of a similar observation. I know photos are what they are, but this was, let's just say, anomalous. Plano, Texas, maybe a year and a half ago, something like that anyway. Please don't share the exact spot, but location is blank, blank. You can Google Maps it. All right, in the future, anybody who doesn't want me to share something, don't write it in the email. Blank, blank. We had just had a shit ton of rain. This is a creek bed and was way too wet / slippery to get to it up close for comparison. It was like 15 feet at least away from this when I took the shot. Also, when I say huge, it was the biggest footprint I've ever seen. Just one, though. Have a look for yourself. I know, but just another nugget. And oh, by the way, in the late 70s or early 80s, I moved in with my aunt / uncle / cousins who lived in Lake Okeechobee. Okeechobee. Sorry, I know that word. Lake Okeechobee. I've been there, Florida. Very rural at the time. We lived in a single wide trailer next to my grandparents on a canal. First day, my older cousin, Mike, he was the youngest of the three boys, told me about his skunk ape encounter and cautioned me to be careful. No, I didn't ever see anything that I remember, but I won't never forget that. I was told out of love and concern, not bullshit. Just saying. Hey, you're doing a good work. Stay the course. Your friend, Chris. Okay, man. Got you, Chris. And I saved that photo when I read it. And here it is in my photos. So normally I got to save them. Now, are we going to be able to do this with the webcam? I wonder. Hold on a sec. Hold on a minute. There's some names attached. That's a screenshot with somebody's name. So I'm going to screenshot the photo, crop out the names. This looks like to be a Instagram post or something. I don't know. 1 minute. Let me fix this up to protect the privacy. And so it's too muddy to get near it. And he said it's 15 feet away. All right. So here's the photo. First off, how's that working out? I think focusing. Webcams must focus on their own, right? Sort of. Now I'll zoom up on it. Looks like a classic shape, but the stick on the left side of the footprint must have came after because it would have squashed that stick right into the ground if that's what it was. There's another imprint to the side of that, but I wasn't there. I didn't see what you're seeing. But just for me being a hunter, and I have to be a tracker, that see the thick stick? See how thick stick on the edge of the print? I think that big stick would be absolutely pounded into the mud with the end of it sticking straight up in the air. if a 500 or 800 pound thing stood right there, right? I don't know. But there you go. That's why photos just don't do much for me. I wasn't there to take a photo, and it doesn't really make too much of a difference for all of us at the stage that we're at now, right? But I absolutely appreciate you sending that email in, your information, your location, and the photo. I do absolutely appreciate it. All right. So don't let that sway anybody away from it. I'm just sharing with you what my attitude is with photographs, which shouldn't be anybody else's attitude. All right. I feel I need to explain myself with my lack of enthusiasm with photographs. But it's just me. And yes, I will continue to share them. I do not ever want anyone to jump on my bandwagon when it comes to anything. I want you all to think for yourself, learn for yourself. I'm going to share as much shit as I can with the whole planet for all you to take from what you will. My number one, actually, I got a bandwagon I want you to jump on. It's the bandwagon of listening to everybody and thinking for yourself. That's the bandwagon I'm pounding on, right? Think for yourselves. You don't need another human being to tell you what's up. That's key. You do not need, there isn't another human being that qualifies to tell you shit. Period. They can offer up different angles to look at items, suggestions, and then you take from what you will or leave it on your own. Babbling. Let's have another little sip of caffeine in this dog shit coffee, shall we? All right. Steve, my name is Terry. Oh. See, I start reading a name at the beginning of the email, I stop right away, especially live. Oh, because sometimes people say, my name is such and such, and then they will say, don't use my name. Too late. Steve, my name is Terry Baker. And you can scream it from the mountaintops because I know the truth and couldn't care less about the naysayers living in the dark. Now, here's some of my experiences. I did not realize I had my first encounter with a Bigfoot at age 12 until listening to all the stories on here. We're in Sparta, Georgia, hunting, and about to call it a night for the evening. It had been dark for about an hour. We were sitting around the fire and heard the loudest, most hair-raising, blood-curdling scream that came from the creek at the bottom of the hill. It sounded like a cross between an old woman being murdered and a baby screaming. What I didn't realize at the time was the scream was so long, it was lasting about 15 seconds. The screaming went on for about 30 minutes and then stopped. The adults that were around me were slightly freaked out, but just said it was a bobcat. I could tell that it unnerved them, and these men, in my mind, could wrestle a bear to the ground and not break a sweat. We all climbed into bed, and then about 30 minutes later, something came in the camp and destroyed it. No way. Why do I look up? I look up and I lose my spot. See, and that's where I edit that shit out when I deliver the videos to you guys. There's no paragraphs. That's why it's tough to find where I left off. Something came in the camp and destroyed it. You could hear pots and pans being thrown, metal banging, stuff being knocked over, and the whole camp being ransacked. No one got up or said anything. And we were all within 10 feet of each other. My father and I were in the back of a 69 Ford pickup that had a camper shell, which for some reason made me feel a little safe in it. After all, it was just a bobcat, like they said. The next morning, we got up just before daylight, and the camp was all organized and neat. What? So my father asked the other two hunters if they had cleaned up the camp. They both replied, I thought you had. There's nothing messed up, missing or out of place. They both looked at each other with an expression of bewilderment that I'll never forget. That was the last day of we hunted. Probably meant that was the last day we hunted. We left that afternoon a day earlier than we'd expected to leave. I wish my father was alive now so I could talk to him about it and see what his honest opinion is now. Prior to this experience, I was about 11 years old, hunting in the woods near our house. I've been hunting there for years. I had never been afraid in the woods, even when coon hunting by myself at night. For some reason, when I got near the swamp that day, it felt different. I heard someone or something call my name several times. See, that's dirty pool. I don't like that. I thought I must have been hearing things. I know I just didn't hear my name. I focused on it, and it didn't seem to be coming from anywhere but just in my head. And then I heard, quote, leave now, end quote. Said about what, 1,500 other people on the planet that we know of. I got an overwhelming sense of uneasiness that rushed through out my body like a blast from a heater. Why should I be afraid? After all, I had a 12-gauge shotgun, which in my 11-year-old mind could take down bears, mountain lions, and probably a bull elephant. I decided to turn around and hunt my way back to the entrance. After about 10 seconds, I heard the words, run, run now, leave this place. Then an overwhelming fear came over, and I ran out of the woods faster than I ever had. I didn't look back and knew that something was telling me to leave for my own good. I heard my name being called the whole time I was running. It's like whatever was calling my name wanted me to go further into the swamp, but something else was warning me. I got about a mile further out of the woods, and it all went away. I don't know if there was something trying to get me to leave because they didn't want me there, or someone telling me to leave to protect me. I didn't feel like my name was trying to lure me in, and the warning to leave was from someone or something else. All I know is it's one of those memories that's embedded in my brain for the rest of my life. No doubt. Excuse me. Between the military and law enforcement, I've seen some things that are forever etched in my mind, and this is right up there with them. Another time I was in North Carolina, out in the middle of nowhere. The nearest house to us was about 10 miles down the road. I was changing the oil in a vehicle and heard some ultralights flying around. Being that I lived at the top of a mountain, it was very unusual. I scooted out from under the truck to take a look. My 10-year-old daughter was with me and saw the ultralights also. She noticed 3 bright silver metallic objects right above them that were following them. It's almost as if they knew that I'd seen them and stopped moving. The ultralights continued on and went out of our view. The one silver object that was closest to the ultralights shot off at a speed 10 times faster than an F-14, and I was stationed on a carrier in the Navy. Then the second one moved across the horizon 15 or 20 degrees and then came back to the original position. Then immediately it shot off at twice the speed of the first one. And then a second or two later, the third one shot off so fast you could barely see it move. My daughter said the last one disappeared. She couldn't follow it, but I did see it moving as it took off. Wow. Now, leg cramp. Shit, I didn't drink enough water this weekend. I heard the same story as the gentleman had previously told, but it was a dogman / werewolf that had killed the individual, not a sabe. I've seen both here, so I don't know. No shit. I'll ask around to see if I can clarify which one. My dogman sighting was quick but clear. Wow, here we go. I was headed back to my camper that I was staying in while I was building a cabin as our forever home. I live on 40 acres just inside the Daniel Boone National Forest. I was about 50 yards from the driveway when a huge wolf ran across the road in front of me. When I say huge, I mean the head was just clearing the right side of the road and the tail was still above the left side ditch line. It was so long it seemed almost slender. If the head wasn't as big as a horse's head and was tall as one of my cows, it looked just like a werewolf you would see in a horror movie. It only lasted about 3 seconds. Being former military, law enforcement, and private investigator, I pay attention to detail when needed to. I immediately jumped out of my car with my Glock and ran to the edge of the road. It was nowhere to be seen. There's a 50-foot drop off to the creek bottom and a mountain on the other side of that. It simply disappeared. When I got back in the car, I started writing down the description and details so they would be clear. I asked myself questions as if I was interviewing myself. The creepiest thing about the whole experience was when it turned its head mid-stride and looked right at me. Said almost every other person that's seen that shit too, right? I didn't think about something that happened. Sorry, I didn't think about something that happened a week prior, as in my 34-foot Fleetwood Bounder along with my 3 blue ticks one night, and the dogs went crazy. It started as barking, then went to growling. I heard a limb crack and fall into the ground just in front of the RV. I figured it was a coon or a big cat of some kind. Dogs ran easy for a long time after that. There was no storm or wind. It was actually dead quiet that evening. The next morning when I went out to look, the branch was 6 inches across where it snapped off. I could barely wrap both my hands around it and touch my fingers together. When I looked up, it was about 15 feet high where it had broken off at. It was fresh, hard break off of a beech nut tree. The limb overhang was right where if you wanted to, you could look into the front of the 10-foot windshield of the RV. There's several other times since I moved here that I have encounters. Nothing spectacular, but a lot of them. Let me throw this screenshot of a UFO that stayed in the sky for about 30 minutes. It looks just like the ones on Skinwalker Ranch and the one in Las Vegas, along with several others. It looks like it has a hole in the middle of it. I did look at the sky chart app I had, and nothing was supposed to be there. I don't think we can actually trust anything online as far as somebody coming up with an electronic device is going to let you know what's up. Myself. I don't know. Sorry. A little caffeine-induced outbreak there. The big guy I had seen was just off the road in Sturgeon Creek. At first, I thought I was looking at a bison. Even though there are none around here, it was about 5 feet tall and about 4 foot wide and almost rectangular. No head or tail. Then I realized it was squatting in the creek with its head looking down. How many times? Take note of that. In the creek, looking down. Same my grandfather saying with I don't know how many other people, right? I'm serious. This part for me is a big concern for me, and that's why I'm spracking off about it right now. Because I even on my hunting apps and my helping people with hunting and access of shitty mountains, I always suggested people to take where the water drains. If you really want to get up that mountain into that dark timber, you take the creek bed all the way up until you find the main game trail crossing the creek, and then you cut into the timber and follow the game trail. That's my suggestion and advice to all hunters. But the shitty deal is you walk up that creek bed, especially uphill. What does cold oxygen do? Cold air drops. Even in the summertime, it's almost a guarantee when you go up that mountain in a creek bed, no matter how heavy, how fierce the warm thermals are blasting uphill, you get in that creek and your scent's going downhill, right? I have had most of my absolute close call, should have been dead, grizzly bear encounters in creek beds almost every time. So I'm always very, very aware when I'm following creeks or rivers. But now we've got this shit going down. For a long time, I've been aware of this. If you feel that you may possibly want to surprise one of these people, I'm calling them people. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. I'm calling them people now. If you want a surprise sighting of one of these people, just keep walking up a creek bed. Keep walking up a riverbed. That's all you got to do by the sounds of it, or even just off to the side. I'm guessing more effective it sounds like if you're off to the side of the creek, just back a little bit, but just enough to see down the whole creek bed, cruise along the timber. Because I'm not convinced if it's the terrain, if it's the aggregate, the ground. So your flat ground, root overhang, clay bank down to the creek bottom, whatever, rock, gravel, clay, and then the creek bottom. So the only thing that I'm thinking is in between my brain and that being's brain is going to be a bit of dirt. Trees, dirt, and roots is going to be the one solid mass guaranteed between my mind and that person's mind before I pop up and see it clear of you in the creek bed, and then it spins to look at you, right? I'm really trying to figure this shit out. Because I don't think it's the boulders in front of that being that's screwing up its perception. Might be, I don't know. But I am thinking it may have something to do with the mineral content between our minds. Who knows how, maybe there's, we're hearing a lot of people saying it's about the granite. Well, maybe there's granite boulders mixed in that dirt underneath the timber, underneath the trees. Maybe there is granite boulders in that tree that I can't see. And that's possibly part of the barrier between my physical head and the physical head of that being before you peek over into the creek bottom, right? You can see I'm really trying to figure this shit out because it kind of bugs me in a way, because I don't want to be hunting and focused on a big bull elk or whatever I'm doing and having a great time and using a creek bottom or creek bed to hike along. And then a big part of my mind, which I can't stop, is going to be focusing on something else besides me hiking, looking for elk sign, trying to find the game I'm after. My anxiety will build up a little bit, and a lot of my attention that I need focused on my task at hand, I can't stop it. But when I'm going up a creek or riverbed right now, a larger piece of my mind is subconsciously being aware. Right? Hope I'm making sense. Sorry, I just interrupted somebody big time. The big guy I seen, let me read it one more time. The big guy I seen was just off the road in the Sturgeon Creek. First, I thought I was looking at a bison, even though there were none around here. It was about 5 foot tall and about 4 foot wide and almost rectangular. No head or tail, ? Then I realized it was squatting in the creek and its head was looking down. Hence, not seeing a head and the flat, broad shoulders. I kept my eyes on him for about 7 seconds until I drove off the side of the road to stop. It had been on my left side when I first saw it. Now stopped. He would have been directly 90 degrees to my left side and about 20 yards. He had vanished. In the 2 seconds, I didn't have eye contact, and there was nowhere for it to hide. It just disappeared. Said hundreds of other honest human beings that didn't ask to see that shit. I've always believed 99% in Bigfoot growing up, but there was always that 1% in the back of my mind saying it was just a folklore. No longer any doubt. If I hadn't experienced all this myself and heard the stories, I would have thought I was a fruitcake. Once again, thanks for being you and doing what you do. Oh, there's photos here. All right, man. This was saved last week, this email. Welcome to the club. There's no escape. You'll never escape this club ever. That's the object in the sky. Now that thing gonna focus on my phone. That's one of the almost looks like the moon right there, but I'd imagine I wasn't there. That's what you saw in the sky above the humans. Crazy. Now, well, we've been here for an hour. How long have we been here? Hour and 23 minutes. Anyway, I got to get ripping. I've got the horses across the street in the other paddock. While I was gone, apparently they were caught and put back in, and I kept getting out. I went in there last night. As soon as I got home, and I found where an old dead hardwood branch fell down and crushed the fence, and little bastards were jumping over the fence and escaping. And they're over there right now, and it's just kind of bugging me. I got to go get the horses, and if they've escaped, I'm going to blow a gasket, and I have a pile of more fencing to do. Anyway, I'll read all these comments in the chat after I get my shit done. All right, you guys got to understand, I'm really, I have a lot to catch up on here, and I'll read all the comments in a bit. And if there's a bunch of questions, maybe we'll do this again, and I'll answer them the best as I can. All right, and what else? A great big cat was seen in broad daylight right behind the house while I was away, which everybody's thinking maybe that had something to do with the horses, but no, I think the horses are just pricks. What else? I'll share 1 in a million that happened again on the weekend when I had Mike and his daughter from Texas. And we were talking about the 1 in a million happen a lot with me. I don't know why. And we were salmon fishing, and the fishing was quite slow. We did get a bunch of salmon. And now picture this. It was fairly flat, calm water, a little bit of fog. We're trolling along, and I saw something moving on the top of the water. Maybe it was Mike's daughter saw it moving first. I don't know. And what happens when you're fishing for salmon, you got your lure right here, your bait, and then a chunk of fishing line about 6 feet long, and then you have a plastic flasher, right? It goes like this, spins around, big flasher. Excuse me. And when you break the line on a big salmon, it takes off, obviously takes off. And once it starts to get tired, they always go to the top and they swim along the surface of the ocean. And then if it's calm enough, you'll see that flasher going along the top of the water, a little wake behind it. And I'm like, that's a flasher. Let's go, let's chase it. It's probably a great big fish on the end of that flasher, right? So here you go. It's all, everyone's excited, you get the adrenaline, and we're going after this thing with the boat. And then I'm up on the bow, I think, at first, and I got the net. I don't know how it happened first, but this is panic stations all over the place. Then the salmon was fairly fresh. Then I saw the boat come up and it takes off to the right, dives, disappears. So now we're sitting there looking around all over the horizon, looking at the water, thinking, oh man, it's a fresh one. He's not that tired yet. There he is. There he is over there. We spin the boat around and go ripping over there. In the meantime, I'm grabbing one of my salmon rods, which are single action reels. They don't cast line. And I'm getting a lead jig and I'm tying it onto the line so I can popsy strip some line off and toss it out and snag my jig around the line of that flasher and catch the salmon. And Mike's driving my boat. I'm like, okay, get over there. Not too slow. And I'm on the bow of the boat and we're yelling back and forth. And he's gunning it a little too much by accident because he's not familiar with the controls. And there's the fish again. We got beside him again. He takes off again. I'm like, oh shit. Don't give up. Spin around. Spun around. We're all sitting on the boat looking everywhere. It's like being in the movie Jaws, right? There he is. We've seen it again. We're chasing after it. And Sadie, she's got the salmon net. She's stabbing the net in the water. And I got my fishing rod and he's taking off again. I reached out with the end of my rod and I stabbed underwater. I went like this around the flasher and I just caught it. And we caught the salmon. This is so funny because we were just talking about the 1 in a million that seems to happen quite often. And the second we got it, hit the deck of the boat, I looked at Mike. 1 in a million, right? We all started laughing our heads off. And it was pretty cool. I have a picture of it here. I don't know if this will show up for you guys, but there's the salmon and the flasher that was behind it. That's my foot to give you reference of the fish. And we got him. So what did I do? I right away I went on my Instagram feed because I know there's a bunch of anglers out there following my shit. And buddies of mine and a few other my guide friends were in that crowd of maybe 20, 25 boats back behind us. And then I made the post on Instagram. Looks like somebody lost a fish. Finders keepers, right? And then sure enough, it was 20 minutes later, I'm getting text from my buddy of mine, a fishing guy. That's my fish. I'm like, no, it's not. He goes, yeah, it is. It's my custom flasher I had built. And sure enough, it was my buddy's fish. And what happened was he had a few customers on board. They hooked in this big fish and went ripping. And then went underneath another boat, got caught on his gear, and it popped the line earlier that morning. And then by 1 in a kabillion chance, we saw the flasher about a quarter mile up ahead of the pack of boats, and we chased it down. We caught him. So that's pretty random and funny, an exciting moment for the day. And then we went offshore and caught some halibut, shared a million billion stories, and then I'm getting texts nonstop that there's pictures of black horses all over Facebook running around the town, which are my horses. And then I did and basically drove like I was driving a NASCAR race all the way home, and everything's cool. So anyway, I gotta go. I gotta go make sure these assholes are still there, and if they're not, here we go again. I fixed the fence last night. I don't see how they can get out. But I guess after hearing everybody saying your horses are out again and again and again, and they're texting Sarah, and she's in New Brunswick, stress times 5,000. You can't help kind of feel like the horses are escaping every 7 minutes. So I gotta go. All right, and I will. I'm going to share a shit pile more again, and I will be doing the live stream in the middle of nowhere. I just won't have my hands on that camera that I was going to use to live stream 24/7 from a secluded place. I think what I am going to do is I'm going to use, I think I may be able to stream with a GoPro maybe. I got to Google that up and Google it. I hate saying Google. I'm going to have to do a little research and find out if I can stream live using my GoPro, but you can't really zoom in on that because I want to take people hunting with me live in the dark, see what I see real time on YouTube on the How to Hunt channel and show everybody my ride. I'll explain, I'll whisper what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and hopefully I can possibly pull the 1 in a million off and do a successful wild remote hunt, real time, and share it with the world while I'm doing it. That would freak me out. But so far, it's looking like I'm gonna have to get one of those holders that holds onto your iPhone and use the iPhone to do it that way. And I'll attach it to my backpack so it's right here wherever you put the damn thing. I'll see if I can pull it off. That'll be pretty cool. So I will be doing the live stream next week when I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm just not going to be able to leave the camera live streaming 24/7 from a spot, which was my plan. Unless I can plug in the iPhone, stand that up on a tree, and leave that plugged into my battery pack. And maybe that will stream 24/7. I don't know. We'll give it a go. There you go. So I got to put my readers and I got to look at the comment section here. I'll check it out after I'm done all my shit here. And if there's some serious questions, I'll hit them up and I'll answer them shortly. All right. I hope this was worthy of doing this live. I hope it wasn't a waste of time. But you got to see how I get interrupted. I interrupt myself and then I edit out all that shit normally before I deliver the video to all you guys. All right. So there you go. And hopefully next time I'll get a lot more voices heard instead of just mine babbling like a doorknob. All right. So I'll see you guys shortly. And what else? Share my story at howtohunt.com and you will get a shared word for word, except for the ones I can't pronounce. You'll get something shared that sounds familiar to what you typed out. And what else? Sarah's back tomorrow. So I'm changing the store. I did those 3 hats for sale in the store. I got to change that back tonight. So I'll leave the store hat sale thing on. And hopefully I remember to change that back tonight. And then it'll be comical when I see her reaction tomorrow if she figures it out. Whatever. Whatever. Okay? Okay. Thank you all for being here for each other. Big time. And don't forget, if you can think for yourself, if you can listen to everyone speak and not shut a door, listen to Tucker Carlson speaking in Hungary. All right? It's very important. I feel it's very, very, very important, very worthy. And maybe later on I can copy a link to that and put it in the description here or something. Maybe, I don't know. I think it's very, very, very worthy of your time to listen to him speak in front of the people in that country. All right? All right. See you guys shortly. Oh, there's Adventure Dog out the door. All right, here I go.